Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to apply materials to your components and then set it up for a rendering. So first of all, we're going to set our directory, make sure it is the tablet stand, and then we're going to tick OK. And then this time you're going to open each component. So here, I'm going to open the arm component. And then I'm going to come across to View, where you have Scenes and Appearances. Click down on Appearances and it will offer you a range of materials. Now on this example, we have different appearances that are available, and in the library below we have lots of metals, and you can find more appearances. You can play around with the different settings. I'm just going to use the default appearances because they are actually very good materials. First one I'm going to do is I'm going to make this arm a red plastic. So I'm going to choose plastic red. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to select the part in the model tree. Arm part is the top of the model tree. You can see it's now been selected, and then I'm going to tick OK, and the red material will come across onto my model. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to edit this component. So I'm going to go into Appearances, and now you'll see the material is in the section Model. It's been applied. If you right click and go to Edit, you can then adjust settings on this material. So we can change the glossiness and the reflectivity to make it a more shiny plastic or a more matte plastic. What I am going to do here is I'm going to change the colour of the material. So here I'm going to play around with a slider, and I'm just going to move that up a little bit, a brighter red, okay, more richer red. But you can change around with the different slider colour values to get the colour of your choice. And then I'm going to tick OK. I'm going to next come down to the reflection colour. A reflection colour on most materials or products is likely to be white because of natural light, or closer to white. So I'm going to go ahead and go into there and move the sliders over to the right hand side, and this will get the white in our colour editor. And then I'm going to tick OK, and that has now set the colour. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm now going to go File, Save, and we'll save that material to that component. Then I'm going to open the base part. Okay, I'm going to bring in the base part, and I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to assign a material, but this time I'm going to assign a different material. So I'm going to go to View, I'm going to go to Appearances, and look down. Now we have lots of different materials here in the top, which I've used in the past, and we have a whole library of different metals. You can choose different plastics and so on under this menu. So on this situation, I'm going to come down and I'm going to choose Chrome. So yeah, this is Chrome, PTC Standard Chrome. Now the standard settings are very good. Again, I'm going to choose base part now. So Chrome has been selected, base part, which is the entire part, but you can actually apply materials just to certain parts if you wish. So this could be made up of lots of different materials. And then I'm going to tick OK. You can now see in the viewer that it has moved across. I'm now going to do File, Save, and that will save that material with that component. And now I'm going to go File, Open, and get the final part, which is the holder. Okay, I'm going to bring in the holder. And again, on this one, I'm going to make this also chrome. So I'm going to go up to View, I'm going to go to Appearances, I'm going to go down to my Metals library, and I'm going to find Chrome. You can hover over and it will say what they are. They're all different ones. So I've got to go to Chrome, select it in the model tree. Now it's selected, and tick OK, and it's now assigned. Okay, I've assigned a material to each part. So in the next part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create an assembly, and you will see that they come into the assembly with their materials assigned. So File, Save, and let's go to the next part of this tutorial. Okay, so now I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to go to New, and I'm going to select Assembly, and I'm going to have to name this Assembly, I'll call it Holder ASM2, because I have already created one earlier. There must be no gaps. If there's a gap, then you must put an underscore, and then you're going to click OK. Now that will open up the assembly window. Okay, looks like the modeling window, very similar, but it is very different. Now we're going to come across to Assemble, and here I'm going to bring in the base part first. So double click, that comes in. Now you have the ability to move it in all directions, up, down, left, right. So what I'm first going to do is choose the plane from the model, which is the base plane. I'm going to click that, and you will see I've got a chain now as I move my mouse, and then I can left click again on the plane within the assembly, and that has moved that down. It says coincident. We can set these as different settings. I set everything to distance if possible and put a 0. That means it's at the same height. I'm going to come across to the right plane in the model, left click, and then move my mouse over to the right plane in the assembly and left click, and you can see it has moved across, and then I'm going to set that at 0. Yeah, that's fine. And I have one more plane to get. I choose the plane, the base, the front plane, and I've got a chain now, and I need to now connect to the front plane in the assembly. You can see now the model has gone orange, fully constrained. So I'm now going to tick, just check that distance is 0, yep, and tick OK. And I've now locked that component in. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in the holder. I'm going to bring in that holder, and we can see it here. Now this time I'm going to go down to the internal cylinder here. I'm going to left click, and I get a chain, and I'm going to go over to the cylinder that part would connect to and left click there. Now here, that allows it to be coincident. So now you can see it is perfectly in line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going, just for this assembly, I'm not going to fully constrain this model. I'm going to move that roughly in the middle, and that will allow me later to rotate this into the position I want. Okay, so I'm going to tick OK there, and now I'm going to go to Assemble again, and this time I'm going to bring in arm part, which is the red part I created, red plastic. And okay, so the arm comes in a different position, so I'm going to use the green rotation and rotate it roughly into the same position that I want it. That is important to do that before assigning constraints. I'm now going to find this cylinder, the outside of this one, and it is going to go into the inside of this one. Now this time, this will be coincident. So let's put that back in. Coincidence means it's in line. Push that through, and we now need to go in and inspect this a little bit closer to make sure that it's central between those parts. Okay. Now, whilst in this position, what we can do is we can rotate that arm. So I'm going to tick OK, and it will sit there. Now, in the model tree, I want to move the holder. So I'm going to click on the holder and go to Edit, Edit Definition. And that allows me now to rotate that part. Now you will see the other part is not in shot because it's ahead of it in the model tree. So if I just move that into position, a random position, and tick OK, you will see that it rebuilds. So now I need to go back. So let's close this part so we can see all three parts. So the arm part, if I click on arm and edit that part, I can now move that into position. Let's see, now I may have to do a little bit of fine tuning here. So it looks like the holder needs to move up a bit. So I'm going to tick OK. Go to the holder, choose edit, just move that up a little bit. And we can see just a little bit of fine tuning here with this. Just a slight bit there. Okay, so it's looking roughly like it's in position. Okay, so I've now got something that looks like it's in position. The material's already assigned, so the final part of this tutorial will take you into the modeler, into the rendering application. It does slow down a little bit here, so listen carefully to my instructions. So you go to Applications, and then you will go to Render Studio. As soon as we click on Render Studio, you will have real-time rendering turned on, which is this button here, and you will show you a default setting, which is pretty good. I'm going to turn real-time rendering off for a moment, and what I want to show you is scenes. I want to go to scene. The default scene is really very good. Okay, you'll find the default scene at the top. The default scene, but I want you to edit the scene. Go to edit, and the only thing I want you to do here is go to background, and under the drop down change to color instead of environment. This will get rid of the grey background and add a white background, which allows us to focus just on the model. So I'm going to close that now, and I'm going to turn real-time rendering back on, and you will notice now it's a white background. Okay, so you can turn your model, you can adjust your model to find the right view that you want to render. You also have perspective view, which gives a very realistic view, so I would encourage you to turn that on. So perspective view is on. If I go into render, the render window, just to get something that looks like that, you would choose browse. You name your render, so I'll call this render test 1, render test 1, and do save, and I would render, and that will save a JPEG into your working directory. But you can also untick real-time settings and go into render settings, and you can see that we are set on basic, and under there are 4 more different settings that you can choose. Just to show you, if I go to interior, lots more light gets bounced into the surface, different settings will turn on, and then if I choose render, it is important that if I choose render now, it will save over the last one. So I would have to come in here, and I would choose render test 1, but go over that and make that number 2, save, and press render, and that will render that as an interior setting. Okay, obviously if I turn that back to basic, I'm going to close that window. I can move this around, I'll get a different view, and then reset my rendering. Okay, so every time you will need to rename it. Go to product, which is a really nice setting, lovely light, quantities hitting the model, and then I'm going to save that, browse that, call that render test free, save, and render. Okay, you will need to play around with the different settings, take a number of different renderings from different views of your model, and then save them into your portfolio. Thank you for watching this tutorial.